In this episode, I'm going to look at a Samsung S24C300W computer monitor. This is a 24-inch LCD monitor with both VGA and HDMI inputs. The client says it cuts out. Now, he says the power cuts out on it, and it indeed does, but it has a couple of other problems that we're going to have to tear into it to fix. So, let's get started. Okay, the power button does... Oh, of course, that's going to come on now. It's going to make a liar out of me. Okay, it does go out. Watch this. I just moved it and it went off. There. It just went off. So I guess we have to take this apart and see if there's a loose connection somewhere inside. Thank God for cabinets that just pop together. So basically just use your spudger or a screwdriver to pop the little clips apart, and then the back will lift off of it. Okay, now we can lift the monitor out with the bezel. And here's our little circuit board in the back here. That's of interest. Oh, that screw wasn't tight. That screw wasn't tight at all. How's this one? Nope. I want to look at this board. Take a look at the connections here for the power jack. As the guy that owns it says, he would wiggle the power jack and he was able to get it to work. So this is what is boiled down to for the modern monitor. One chip, HDMI input, RGB input, one chip, and then to your LVDS, which is low voltage differential signaling. Power connector down here. Looking at the back here, yeah, it might be this connection here. It doesn't look too swift. If we get a closer look at the power pins here, this one here looks like it may be some cracking around here. It doesn't look that good. And the symptom that the guy who brought it into me indicated is that he would wiggle the power connector and it would come back on. So I think about all I can do on something like this is we're going to reflow this connector, this solder here, and test it out. That's about all I can do on something like this, because these things really there's not a heck of a lot to do on them. This crap lead-free solder that they make everything with these days is a joke. Clean the tip on this thing and see if I can get the solder to stick on it. Get a little bit more heat on there. These ones over here on the VGA connector don't look so swift either, do they? So we'll just redo those ones, these through hole, and that's about all I'm going to do on this, and then we'll hook it up and test it out. I'm actually going to watch what I'm doing on the monitor. It's easier to see looking at the monitor than it is looking at the board itself. Come on, solder on there. Made my iron a little bit hotter now. Okay, that looks a little better. Ground. Do the ground tabs. It's incredible. I just one screw to hold the entire board in place. That's it. And then the back goes back on it. That's how a modern monitor goes together. Just snaps together with clips. Talk about cheap. And we'll put the power in. And we'll see if we can get a picture on this thing. So I'm going to test this using my CineMate 2. This is an RGB media player. It looks fantastic. Now remember, this plasma screen is only capable of 852 by 480, but this is a full 1080 output from this media player. It'll do 1080 output from this media player. So let's plug, this is being fed by RGB. Let's plug it into this monitor and see how it looks. And there you have it. It looks fantastic. That's using the input, RGB input. We'll test the HDMI input as well, but I needed a way of testing RGB, and short of going and grabbing my laptop, I could have done that too. But it was just as easy to grab the media player and look at video. What this media player does is it actually uses an SD card, or sorry, it uses a compact flash card. But I have a compact flash to micro SD adapter, and it just plays media files. So I've got some of my own productions on here, and it'll just cycle them through and just play them continually. Let's try the HDMI input. I'll hook it up to my cable box and we'll see how the HDMI input works. And speaking of this little media player, as you can see, it uses a compact flash type card, but I've just got a 32 gig micro SD card. This will actually take 2 micro SD cards if you want. I have something else, just a piece of it's actually a piece of an old credit card stuck in there just to block that input, because this input is not compatible with this unit. It won't read. That's for what they call it. They call it card 1, but for whatever reason, this side, it won't read cards on this side. It'll only read cards on this side. So I just kind of put something in there to block it so I don't stick a card into the wrong side by accident. But anyway, micro SD compact flash. So this little adapter, I think I did a video on this a while back too, but this little adapter will allow cameras like the older Nikon DSLR cameras that used a regular CF compact flash card. It allowed you to use large micro SD in a camera that used CF cards, because CF cards are expensive, right? You get a 128 gig CF card, they're quite expensive. You can get a relatively inexpensive, like 20 bucks for 128 gig micro SD, and this little adapter is about 10 bucks. Makes your old camera like new for the new technology. Anyway, let's hook this monitor up to HDMI. Looks like this piece of crap's got a problem with the HDMI input. So apart it comes again. Well, here's a close-up of the HDMI connector. When I applied pressure to it, I got a picture momentarily. So I know it does work, but this connector here obviously has got a fault. See if I can get the camera to focus a bit better. Oh yeah, look at the pins. Those pins look like they could be bent. Look at the one on the right here. Maybe that's the fault. Yeah, look at the connector here. Look at this pin. It's bent. This pin here is bent. And that, I think, is probably why it's not working. If we can get that pin back where it belongs without breaking it. I was talking to the guy that owns this thing. He says, yeah, he says the HDMI port was broken, so he started using the VGA port, and then he started having the problem with it cutting out and shutting off. And he says that the VGA port stopped working. Well, VGA port's working now, and I'll see if I can get this one working as well on it. See if I can get that pin straightened up here a bit and lie in its groove. Yeah, I know I could change the socket, but changing this is a real pain in the butt. And the guy that owns it doesn't want to spend that much money on it, so he said to me, I just talked to him on the phone, and he said, yeah, really all he cares about is that the VGA port works. And if the HDMI port works, that's a bonus, but it doesn't need that. Okay, that's about as good as I can get it. That's a lot straighter than it was before. we'll try this. I'll put it back in and try it now and see whether the VGA port is working. Or not the VGA, the HDMI port. If we've got both ports working, then we're good to go. But really all he cares about is that one. Okay, unit back together. HDMI working. HDMI connector fixed. VGA connector fixed. Power connector resoldered. That's what goes wrong with these HDMI connectors and VGA connectors, especially when people plug and unplug them. This lead-free solder is crap. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.